Dr. Mensch, the radio show that takes a real, compassionate look at mental health from A to Z. Join child and adolescent psychiatrist Dr. Gil Lichtshine each week as we explore topics that matter: autism, ADHD, anxiety, depression, OCD, schizophrenia, behavioral challenges, neurodevelopmental disorders, and more. No stigma, no judgment. Just honest conversations, new therapies, breakthrough treatments, and real solutions for real people. Mental health is not a weakness. It's a treatable medical condition, and help is available. Join the conversation now by calling the studio at 888-994-4995, Studio A. This is Dr. Mensch, where hope and healing begin.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Gil Lichtshine, aka Dr. Mensch. I'm a board-certified child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist in sunny Boca Raton, Florida, where this week is the start of spring break. Not looking, maybe Boca isn't as impacted, but I live in Fort Lauderdale, and so I already started seeing spring breakers on the street yesterday, so not looking forward. My office is in Boca Raton at 7100 West Camino Real, Suite 404, and my phone number is 561-300-4052. Today I have a return guest, Freddy Santori, back once again.
Interesting week.
Talk about, some more about sports, maybe even address some healthy habits that athletes do that actually can destabilize, but not be necessarily good on your mental health. You're saying an interesting week. In what way?
Well, you see that Vaughn had surgery. There's a couple of notes on her coming back. I wanted to ask you, when these athletes, like for the Olympics, they train 4 years, and then they have to go, and they're out there for 2 weeks, just competing, full blast, pedal to the metal. If they're not eating correctly, or if they're not doing things correctly, does it affect their end game? Does it affect the guy with the ice?
The skating, the guy that kind of like choked.
Yeah, I mean, how does that mental?
The quad, what was the name? The Quad King.
The Quad King.
Yeah. Well, I mean, athletes are. Maybe you look at them as like the ideal or poster individual for healthy eating, healthy lifestyle, healthy habits of all kind. No smoking, no drinking, no drugs, no this, no that. But well, obviously we see that's not always the case, because we see so many times athletes getting busted for drunk driving or drug use. That's the other thing. But in terms of nowadays, most of these big time athletes have like their own chefs and their own private nutritionists. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was seeing on I don't know if it was on Netflix or Amazon Prime. I don't remember it's a little series on hockey, and they were it was like 2 seasons or 3 seasons. So they were focusing on several players like Matthew Tkachuk, Connor McDavid, Quinn Hughes, William Nylander. So they're showing how focusing on their private lives as well as their sports lives. But a lot of these players had like their own private chefs cooking them specific meals, and so what can happen is if you're, I don't say told or advised, like you got to, eat clean or eat a certain thing or eat this or eat that, and if you deviate, I mean, that could sometimes kind of cause a lot of anxiety, that if like, oh my God, today for breakfast I was only supposed to have 350 calories and I had 360 calories, like, oh my God, I'm gonna, get fat, or I ate too much, so now maybe I shouldn't eat as much for lunch or dinner. You get into this kind of like too rigid type of eating habits that if you, kind of like deviate, you sometimes can kind of like, it can kind of cause anxiety, kind of like the same concept of, again, I don't want to say these athletes have obsessive compulsive disorder, but again, people with like OCD or obsessive or even obsessive compulsive personality have these kind of like rigid routines or thinking, and then if you upset that routine, they can't handle it. They kind of have meltdowns. They become anxious, and then in the ones with people with OCD, they develop these rituals. But I'm not saying these players have OCD, but I can, someone who's on this kind of very rigid, ritualized kind of diet, if you kind of veer off, that's why some of these diets or, trainers might say, yeah, go have a cheat day, where you can eat some carbs or eat some junk food. The idea of, yeah, it kind of shocks your body, but the other thing too is the mental part of, okay, I don't want you to be so kind of hyper-fixated, hyper-focused, hyper-rigid about your eating that it could then wind up kind of taking over your life.
Well, football players, they have to train all year long, right? I mean, they may take 30 days off in a year. So that's 11 months of training. Because the next guy that comes along, if he can bench press more than you, if he can outlast, if he's better on the field under different conditions, you're out of a job. You're done.
Yeah, correct.
So eating, the teams actually provide meals for them during the season. Do they do it after the season?
That's a good question. Although I would imagine if they don't, I mean, a lot of these, high-paid athletes have the financial wherewithal where they can just hire their own private chefs and just basically continue the same, eating habits that these athletes had during, the regular season.
And the Olympics, you don't actually make a paycheck, do you? Or do they have endorsements?
Yeah,
I guess something.
I think these athletes are considered amateurs, so they probably, I don't think Lindsay.
She might have some endorsements.
Right, I'm gonna imagine like somebody like Lindsey Vonn who's been skiing for a decade or more. I mean, probably has made millions in endorsements, but I don't think that she's getting paid. Like, I don't think she's getting an appearance fee for being at Milan. Like, you're getting $100,000 or getting paid to be on the U.S. Olympic team. I would imagine that some of these lesser-known Olympians probably had to pay their way to go to Milan, but some of the more famous ones like Lindsey Vonn and I don't know, this Quad King dude. I don't know how famous he is or what but yeah, Lindsey Vonn. I mean, obviously the U.S. men's hockey team, they're all professionals. Yeah. So they don't have to worry about. They're all making millions of dollars, and they have their own endorsements. They don't have to worry about anything. But I would imagine Lindsey Vonn probably has made enough money from endorsements that paid the way for her. But lesser known people probably had to pay their way to go to Italy.
And so these people that have nobody, I keep thinking Rocky having the 6 raw eggs. People that have diets that are consistent with the financial means that they have, which could be small, so they have to eat carbs and stuff. I'm pretty sure they'll educate themselves. Do you think it gives people that are well off an advantage that they can eat, rest better, no anxiety?
I mean, in some ways, yes. I mean, yeah, having the financial wherewithal allows you to have the best chefs prepare the cleanest foods and the healthiest meals. But at the same time, I mean, that could also kind of like a double-edged sword where it can actually fuel. And if, let's say, the athlete, him or herself, already is prone to having anxiety or hasn't anxiety issues, this whole diet, exercise, tracking your sleep, healthy lifestyle, if you become too wrapped up in it, it could really backfire on you and really cause some mental health issues.
Major League Baseball has single A, double A, triple A, and they also have the rookie league. these guys, they have to survive on like $22 a meal a day. So there's no money being made in those classes that you're gonna have.
Unless you're like one of these
Draft picks.
high draft picks like
Right.
Paul Skeens or Adley Rutschman or Gunnar Henderson, who, you got like a $5 million signing bonus. But if you're like some 6th round pick, you were a 6th round, 7th round pick from, let's say some middle of the road, I don't want to say school, but I mean a middle of the road college in terms of baseball, like notoriety. Yeah, you're not getting a $5 million signing bonus. You're getting peanuts as a salary as in the single A or rookie league or double A, and right, you got to make do with
what you got.
Right.
And
you're not flying first class. No. They're not chartering planes. You're probably going on buses.
So when these kids come up through the ranks, that's really an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because they had to struggle to get there.
Yeah.
And food is not going to be a number one caveat.
Right. They're not eating at the Ritz-Carlton or have Guy Fieri as their private chef.
True that. And you have also players that come up and they just can't stick because they can't stay at that high level. I guess when you're playing professional sports, you have a way of overcoming a lot of the anxiety playing in front of large crowds, which is not as easy as it sounds.
No. I mean, that's certainly, again, if let's say you had a fear or anxiety about public speaking, I mean, you're a basketball player, you're a baseball player, and you're an infielder on the infield at Yankee Stadium or Dodger Stadium. There's 50,000 people. You're basically being thrown to the wolves, and like, okay, you have a problem giving a speech to 100 people. Well, now you're going to be shagging ground balls in front of 50,000 people at the stadium and maybe millions more on TV.
And you hear everything.
Yeah.
I got to play at the Roberto Clemente Stadium in Puerto Rico for a league, and you hear every word in that stadium. I don't care if they're all the way up in the flag post. You hear the cursing. You hear people just telling you all sorts of things to throw you off your game because we weren't never the home team. We were visitors. That becomes an issue. Then the money. So you sign a Soto deal, making 50, 60 million a year. Expectations become a nuisance. And you're trying to stay healthy. Then you have the guys on the team. They all know that you signed that big contract. So you're going to go have dinner at a beautiful restaurant or a chef is going to cook for you. What about the rest of the team? What do you do with them?
True. Yeah, you're right.
How do you keep that chemistry going when you're eating filet mignon and some other guy's over here eating a burger? It's not easy. It's not easy to be successful in sports. And the Olympics is just as bad. You got pressure to compete, to win. I mean, what did we do? 33 medals, only 12 of them were gold. Those are 12 people that we sent with hundreds of people that went, and only 12 gold.
Right.
Not
Correct.
everybody gets a
Right.
trophy.
I don't know how many people were on the Olympic U.S. Olympic team, but correct, it's definitely more than 12.
Yeah.
Probably maybe a couple hundred,
Maybe a
but
couple hundred.
let's say 200. Right. 12 divided by 2. We're talking about 6%, 5-6% or less of the athletes on the Olympic team won gold.
Exactly. So you got to earn it. Then I was going to ask you, back to the food thing, aren't there certain foods that you're not supposed to take because you're going to test positive for illegal foods, things in the food, like poppy seeds?
Yeah, poppy seeds could, I believe, test like for opiates.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, certain, there could be certain dietary supplements.
And you can't take them.
Right, and they may be like on the banned list for whatever sport, whether Major League Baseball or basketball. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, like if the banned substance list is uniform for all the 4 major sports, but I know that, for example, like in baseball, amphetamines are banned. Now, if you have ADHD and amphetamines and stimulants, but let's say you have ADHD and you're like, well, I've been prescribed Adderall or whatever stimulant, you got to go through a whole process called the therapeutic use exemption, where you have to meet with a psychiatrist, a certified, like a major league approved certified psychiatrist, to do an evaluation and determine that, okay, that player, whether in the minor leagues or in the major leagues, can continue, or, with the medication and they have to be seen with some frequency. So, you also have to be careful. You're right. Poppies. Like if you have, I love, let's say you're the budding Sandy Koufax. I love my lox and bagels, and like every morning I have 2 poppy seed bagels with lox, and you might have a little problem. Might have a little problem, because if they randomly drug test you, can come back positive, and wait, I don't do oxy or smack. I love my poppy seed bagels. Well, you got to cut that out.
And if you're injured, painkillers can become a problem.
Correct.
Muscle relaxers can become a problem.
Right. Correct.
Even vitamins that have certain nutrients can become
Correct.
a problem.
And on that note, I'll take a brief commercial break, and we'll return in a few moments.
What happens when the mind of a healer crosses over into the darkness of the human soul? From authors David Icovetti, Dr. Gil Lichtshine, and Yolanda DeLuca comes a chilling psychological thriller, Dr. Mensch, A Prescription for Evil. This gripping novel follows a respected Boca Raton psychiatrist who secretly descends into madness, transforming into a modern-day king of the underworld. Inspired by true events and Dr. Gil's childhood connection to a mob family, this story blurs the line between sanity and evil, genius and destruction. Unforgettable, disturbing, impossible to put down. Get your copy today on Amazon.com. Dr. Mensch, A Prescription for Evil, a 2020 psychological crime thriller. You're listening to Dr. Mensch with child and adolescent psychiatrist Dr. Gil Lichtshine. For a copy of his powerful new book, Dr. Mensch's Prescription for Evil, visit Amazon.com. For more information or to schedule a consultation, contact Dr. Gil directly at 561-300-4052 or visit docgil.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
Hello, Dr. Mensch here, back with Freddy Santori, and continuing our stimulating discussion.
Well, I wanted to ask you, football players have to maintain certain weight by position. I don't know if the audience is aware of that. You can't be a nose guard at 280 pounds. You got to be a 340, 360 around there, depending on your height and width, right? So my question is, if you know you have to eat right, you can't walk around with a beer belly to be a nose guard, even though a lot of them are pretty big boys.
Right, they have bellies, right.
They have bellies. So you have to eat right to sustain your cardio during 4 quarters of professional football. So my question is, if you're going to get drafted and you have to gain weight, you have to do lifting weights and eating right. That could still be thrown off if you're eating wrong.
Correct.
Fatty foods or things that slow you down because the metabolism is slow. So what is the easiest way you believe that an athlete can come out of college to play professional football, has to gain weight, has to stay within the program? Now, a football player trains 11 months a year, 11 and a half months a year. And they have to, because again, you can get replaced in a heartbeat.
Right.
Age is a factor. They want 22-year-olds to 27-year-olds. Then they start calling you downhill at the age of 28. But a lot of this has to do, again, with nutrition, eating the right thing, eating the right foods, not having the fig Newtons like you used to have in college. Because you used to have a real funky foods in college. Can't do that in the pros. There's too much on the line.
I would always hear, back in the day when the boosters would come and get college, I'm going to buy my, college kid a pizza. Yeah, but in the pros, you don't hear about, pro football players. Yeah, my diet consists of eating 3 large pepperoni pizzas a day. I mean, yeah, they'll
They
put
can.
on. They can, and they'll put on a lot of weight. But yeah, that's not the way that probably most nutritionists and dietitians are going to want these athletes to do in order to put on weight. It's going to involve going to the gym and bulking up. Muscle weighs more than fat, so quick way of putting on the weight is bulking up. But then you're also part of that is eating healthy, a lot of protein, lean protein, and curbing back on the bad carbs like the starches and the pastas and the high sugar foods. And I'm not saying all carbs are bad, but eating more like lower glycemic foods that carbs that don't raise your blood sugar to the same degree, like some fruits, for example, like berries instead of melons, or blueberries and strawberries, have natural sugars just like watermelon and cantaloupe, but the level to which the sugars in berries will cause insulin spikes is much less than like say watermelon or cantaloupe. Proper nutrition is important in keeping these athletes' weight kind of where it should be.
Do you think the temperature of where you play, like Dome Stadium versus outside stadium, for instance, or Miami Dolphins, Denver Broncos, do you think that the weather has some kind of bearing on what you're eating to sustain?
Well, I mean, certainly. You always hear about when players go and play at, say, Denver, where they're up higher, mile high stadium or the mile high city. I mean, their elevation is that players sometimes have a hard time kind of adjusting to the altitude because you need more oxygen. Or players who let's say football players who play up in northern climate that come down here and have to play in heat and humidity of South Florida, and they're not used to it. Does diet play a role? I don't know if that's more diet or more just, again, I think that no matter how much of a clean eater you are, if let's say you're asked to now, okay, you're a professional basketball player, and let's say you've spent your first few years in New York or Miami or DC or wherever, and all of a sudden you're like, off you go and play for the Denver Nuggets. Like, your body's going to have to now quickly. I don't think it matters how you could be the best shaped athlete in the world, but now all of a sudden, no matter what you eat, it's not going to help in adjusting now to higher altitude, and the fact that high altitude is thinner air, less oxygen. Your body's going to have to adjust to it. So yeah, you might be fatigued at first, and it has nothing to do with, oh man, I'm out of shape. Like, no, it's.
But what about the way it affects you mentally? So you're not used to these adjustments, and you were a great athlete. All of a sudden, you're sluggish.
Well, I mean, if you can kind of get reassured, this has nothing to do with your conditioning or who you are or what you are. It's okay. You're now living in a new environment.
Right.
That you have to kind of adjust to. Just like, okay, the idea of like, I mean, I grew up in the Midwest and in New York and got dealt with the cold. But now that I've lived here for 25 years, my blood's thinned. Yeah, I can't. I like to move back. If somebody asked me to move back to New York, forget about just simply forget about all the other issue for just climate. I'd be like, yeah, it would take me a while to readjust to the cold weather, and it's nothing to do with like, oh my God, I'm some sort of like weak or wuss or whatever word you want to use. It's more of my body is acclimated to a tropical climate that to go back and live in a, I don't want to say Arctic climate, but a colder climate, it would take time to adjust. So the same thing, like, okay, now I'm going to move to Denver, or let's say Mexico City, which I think actually has a higher altitude than Denver, or what's in, I think the capital of Bolivia is even higher altitude. I would okay, maybe if I was visiting Mexico City for a couple of days, fine. But let's say if I had to move to Mexico City, I'd be like, okay, that's going to be an adjustment of living in like in a higher altitude.
Yeah, because they're thinking about expanding football teams to the European and the South American markets.
Yep.
Which is another adjustment for teams that are already playing to go to these things. So
Right.
I guess that's why they're pros, because they know what to eat, how to stay in shape, how to make the alternative adjustments.
I mean, yeah, these players have the the financial advantage of, they can afford to have private chefs and nutritionists that can kind of work with them and really, get them on track. But then at the same time, if it gets too intense, it could backfire.
True that. It can hurt you.
Right. So, I mean, like, I don't want to say healthy lifestyle can hurt you, but yeah, it depends on how far you go. It definitely, can sometimes backfire or result in an unintended or untoward effects.
If it consumes you?
Especially, if it
I get that.
like consumes you and affects you negatively. So
You gotta keep the mindset, no matter. Again, strong mind. We're right back to
right.
Eat right, keep a strong mind, keep the anxiety down. You're gonna have it playing in front of large crowds, man. If you're not a little nervous or butterflies or whatever, you ain't human.
Right, correct. And on that note, had another wonderful time having Freddy on my show.
Good stuff.
This could be like, maybe Dan Le Batard with Stu Gatz.
Got
Or
I wonder who that one would be.
Or Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike. We can argue.
Greenberg and Golick. So
you got March Madness coming up.
yeah. So
got some,
maybe this could be the reincarnation of Mike and Mike, or Dan Le Batard or Stu Gatz.
We got NFL draft coming up.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you what the Jets are going to do with that number 2 pick,
So
but we got to go.
We got to go. So on that note, this is Dr. Gil Lichtshine, a.k.a. Dr. Mensch, wishing everyone a good week and look forward to seeing you next Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us for Dr. Mensch with Dr. Gil Lichtshine, helping you navigate the world of mental health with clarity and care. If you or someone you love needs support, you're not alone. Treatment works and recovery is possible. To schedule a consultation or discuss non-medication therapies, personalized treatment plans, or psychiatric care, contact Dr. Gil directly at 561-300-4052 or visit docgil.com. You can catch us each week on South Florida Oldies Radio and streaming across all social platforms.